Hi, welcome to Mama Mandala, where magic is somatic. I'm Hagar. I'm so excited that you're here. We're gonna step into a crossroads between two stories and one plant and one particular goddess that is going to hold us in the teaching with other gods and goddesses supporting this very important teaching, I think, that holds us at the paradox, at the crossroads between love and grief, teaching us that really one and the other are ever intertwined, that there is no separation between loss and lust. And the experience of love in this life means we're going to lose and we're going to grieve. So this is not bad news, but rather an invitation to step into one of the most core and most meaningful paradoxes in life. And then we're going to bring it into our bodies with a little pranayama, with breathwork, and meditation with mantra and mudra. So here we go. Once upon a time, there was a nymph, a beautiful nymph that died in the woods. And the goddess of flowers in the Greek mythology found her, and her heart filled with grief for this beautiful creature dead on the ground. And so she, out of her sadness and her appreciation of the beauty of this creature, she breathed life into her and turned her into a most beautiful, exquisite flower. Then the god Dionysus, who is the god of intoxication, right? The god of wine and the god of vine. So the god of plant world and of the complexity of nature and the wildness of nature and the way that nature's untamed energy can also be celebrated and loved and adored in the way of culture, in the way of a drink, of a substance that is cultured, that is made by the humans. And he shows up to the scene and sees these beautiful flowers, and so the god of intoxication gives this flower the most intoxicating scent. He's giving this gorgeous plant that shows itself in this most exquisite bloom, the most delicious smell one can ever imagine. A smell, a scent that is so alluring, that calls beings from all parts and sides of the world to come see it, to come meet it. And this is, of course, a moment in time. I'm releasing this in the season, in the peak of springtime, at the time when the flowers are blooming and their scent is intoxicating. And this is not, this story is not limited to this time of year, but it invites us to find ourselves in moments, in seasons in our lives, seasons when the lust and the luster of life and really that word, the intoxication of the deliciousness of scents and flavors are irresistible all around us. A time of year right now when the flowers are in bloom and the insects are all over, and there's this feast and celebration of the power of life, right? That happens through, in nature, sensuality and sexuality, because of course flowers are the sexual organs of a plant and the insects are attracted to it, and more flowers are produced because insects come attracted to the scent and to the nectar and then spreading pollen. So it's this beautiful symbiosis that's happening in nature and happening inside of us and all around us, in the things that we are attracted to and pulled towards. And how, for example, for me, I'm so into mythology, and when I touch mythology, when I go and drink from the well of stories, there's nothing that I love more than going around and pollinating the world with the story and finding ways to connect stories to certain moments in life and certain moments in a person's life, right? There's a story for every moment in life, and stories also cross-pollinate in cultures and even within culture. This story comes from the Greek tradition, and within the way that the story evolves into the next story, that crossroad that we talked about, we're going to find a cross-pollination of explanations of nature that happen within the culture. And so into the scene of this beautiful flower that is now also smelling like heaven on earth, the goddess of pleasure and beauty and eroticism, not just as a sexual kind of an energy, but as the energy of anything and everything in life that turns us on, that again, that attracts us like an insect to a flower, to drink from the nectar of juiciness of life, right? So of course that's Aphrodite in the tradition of the Greeks, and she shows up to the scene and she sees this beautiful flower that she feels immediately like it's her own, because Aphrodite is the goddess of beauty, right? 100%. Like, this is her most known for qualities. No one can resist Aphrodite. And she takes the flower and makes it her own, and she looks at it and she loves it, and the smell is just so beautiful for her, and she's just rubbing it all over her, and she sees it and looks at it, and she wants to name it, right? Because the love is so big and she loves it so much. She's the goddess of love, of course, and lust, and she names it after her son. Her son's name is Eros, right? Of the origin of the word eroticism, Eros, and he's the god of love. And she rearranges the letters in the word Eros and calls the flower rose. And that's one of the interpretations. I love that one so much. And this, she adopts it and makes it her flower. And in another, we're crossing now, in another time in her life, with her love for the rose, she's walking around, maybe even in the same area in the forest, and she finds the most beautiful baby. Oh, he is absolutely stunning. He is so gorgeous. She picks him up in her arms and holds him close to her chest, and she knows that somebody needs to take care of this beautiful baby boy, and she doesn't see a mother around. Of course, she doesn't know that the misfortune of this mother has to do with a curse that she had on the mother of this mother. This takes us back and to intertwine and interlace with a whole other set of myths. But to make a long story short, this mother had to escape and run away from her fate, from this horrible curse that was set into motion. And it's a whole it's intense story, and it's pretty intense. She has sex with her father, and then she feels like she has no room in the world of the living and no room in the world of the dead, because she committed the most horrible thing one can have, and it was her fault. She seduced her father. It's again a whole other story, but that gives us really the complexity that I want us to remember, right? The holding of horror and beauty and grief and love and meaning and disgust all at once. We have so many flavors that course through our blood and our systems. And that's kind of what life invites us into, is to remember that all of it exists all at once. That doesn't mean we don't want to do things. I want to make this very clear. It doesn't mean we don't need to do things to make things better. It doesn't mean we don't need to fight against injustice. It doesn't mean we don't need to do something about the horrible things that are going on in the world. It means, though, that we have to also, as we do our best to be the most, to show up in a way that contributes, as we do the work of slowly making things better for others and for ourselves and for the whole of humanity and for all the other species we share the world with, we also have to take into consideration that life itself is both cyclical, and in the cyclicality of it, there's a well-roundedness to it, and that it holds all the different flavors, all the different possibilities, all the different aspects, qualities, attributes that you can sort of hold in this world, and not even hold because it's so vast and big and intense. There's ferocity and there's phenomenal beauty all at once, right? So this story sort of reminds us, because it keeps interlacing with other stories and with other fates of other gods and other humans. But as Aphrodite walks and finds this baby, she doesn't know that the mother of this baby escaped this terrible thing that she's done, and that she's cried for the gods to help her, because there's no room for her anywhere in the world, right? And we all feel that way sometimes with maybe we haven't done something as horrible as this girl has done, but we do things that make us feel so guilty, so sad about how could I have done this? How could I have said that? It can happen in really small ways, and it can happen in really big ways, right? And she just asks for compassion. She asks for support, for a way to exist in the world. And the gods hear her, and they turn her into a tree with roots that grow into under the ground, right, into the underworld, into the way that the soil holds life and death, and into the sky, into an expansive way of being. Even though it's not a tall tree, she turns into a myrrh tree. And myrrh tree, sorry, my accent. So as this mother turns into a tree, encased in the tree is this beautiful baby, because she's pregnant from her father. And one day, really, maybe perhaps even just a few hours before Aphrodite gets there, or a day before Aphrodite gets there, a boar comes through the forest, and in its ferocity kind of sticks its tusks into the tree and breaks the tree open, and the baby falls. And then the boar continues on his way. And the boar, of course, is an animal that represents deep soil, that represents the ability to dig into soil and to find truffle and to find things that are hidden in the ground. It's this animal that is deep earth animal, that is both the fertility of springtime, but also the ferocity of a time on the earth where things go toward the underworld, toward the fierceness of fall and of winter. So it's this animal that holds all of it, like the fertile and the fierce. And he just kind of breaks the tree open with his tusks, and the baby falls to the ground. And when when Aphrodite, Venus is her Roman name, of course, when she finds him and holds him close to her chest, she knows she's so busy in her life because she's a goddess of culture and of art and of beauty and of sensuality and sexuality, and maybe it's springtime, she's really busy right now, and she knows she can't raise this baby at the moment. She has other things that she has to do. She can't leave this baby in the forest for the fates to decide if it lives or die. He's so beautiful. He's like an expression of something that is part of her because of his beauty, because everything that's beautiful in the world is Aphrodite related. And so she brings him to Persephone, the queen of the underworld, who is also the maiden of spring, rises out of the underworld every springtime to bring the flourishing and the blossoming, to bring the goddess of flowers, her ability to send them into bloom. And the goddess that then goes every fall down into the underworld where she becomes queen. When she's a maiden of flowers, she's in this deep relationship with her beloved mother of the earth, Demeter, and together they create the lushness and the abundance and the food and really the gift of the earth in spring and in summer. And then when she goes into the underworld, she goes into her relationship with her, depending on how you look at it. Some would think he's her abductor, but others think of him as her beloved, as her lover, as her husband, Hades, the lord of the underworld. And so she's the one that takes care of this baby. His name is Adonis, and he is the most gorgeous child one can ever think of. So when the time comes and Aphrodite goes to Persephone and says, hey, what's up with this cute boy, right? Because now he's grown into this young man, and she wants him badly because she sees his beauty. Persephone's like, no, I don't think so, right? She's not willing to let him go. She wants him down there in the underworld with her to entertain her when her beloved goes to claim the souls of other beings. And they're both infatuated with this gorgeous young man. And they go to Zeus and they ask Zeus to decide for them who's it gonna be? Who's gonna get this Adonis hotness for them? Because they both lust for him badly. And then Zeus doesn't want to mess with those two goddesses. Like, oh, I have enough of a headache with other matters. And he goes to Calliope, to one of the muses of epic poetry, because man, don't you hear it? Don't you see it? Don't you feel it? This story is like epic poetry. It's the poetry of nature herself. And they all go to Calliope, and Calliope instructs them to have Adonis spend 4 months out of the year in the underworld with Persephone when the world is cold and before there's any flowers and when everything is wilting, and until the time things are ready to re-emerge as a flourishing world. Adonis is going to spend his time in the underworld with Persephone. And when the time comes and the world goes into its beautiful fest and feast of flowers and insects and fruit and beauty and lushness and the rising of life force, he's going to be with Persephone in the world of the living, with all of this life and prosperity all around him. And for the other 4 months of the year, Calliope instructs Adonis to figure out for himself what he wants to do. This is his free time. He can choose. And now starts this mad love affair between Aphrodite and Adonis. And they are absolutely in complete lust and love for one another. This, some say, is the only real love Aphrodite has ever experienced. That all the other loves were more about the love that she receives, the love that is offered to her, the love that she inspires, the love that she spreads, but that this love is a love that she feels. And it's a little bit uh, of an obsession, but not in a necessarily in a bad way. In the way that that all of us have experienced, because we've fallen in love and in lust, and we, not in a bad way. Of course, there's a shadow to it. So there's a dropping to the edge of it, of losing ourselves in it. Because now she forgets that she's the goddess of beauty in a cultural way, in an art kind of a way, in a way of cultivation. She forgets that she's a goddess of the flowers that are cultivated and grown very carefully and thoughtfully in the garden. She becomes like Artemis in the forest with Adonis, madly in love and in lust, all over the place, making love everywhere, on tree tops, at the tree roots, in caves, on the grass, everywhere they possibly can. And Adonis is madly in love with her too. He doesn't want to go back to Persephone, even though Persephone is amazing. He doesn't want to go back to her because he's so in love with Aphrodite. So for the 4 months where he can have his free time, he's with Aphrodite. So here's one thing that I find really interesting. The stories, some of the sources that I was looking at, say that Aphrodite in this time, when she's madly in love with Adonis and they're in the forest, forgets that she's the goddess of culture, and therefore forgets herself, forgets her role in society, right? And it's a fine line, because part of what makes us ourselves has nothing to do with society, or doesn't need to have anything to do with society. And we have to claim our own power, our own nature, which is what, in a way, Aphrodite is doing in the forest. She becomes a wild goddess. She becomes a goddess of the beauty of the wild. Like, her skirt is all torn up. She's barely covered. She just wants to have sex with this gorgeous man all night long, right? All day long, everywhere she can. That becomes who she is. And of course, that is a huge part in the belly of it, in the underworld of it, if you will, in the unconscious of it, of the role of Aphrodite, because she is eroticism and pleasure. And for the erotic part of us, for pleasure to be experienced, we have to let loose. We can't just be cultured and cultivated and refined. We want that, because that part is what creates consent. Does that make sense? Like, even though our culture is so far from it, I'm going to have a sip of water for this, because the culture has not really shown us that, has not really given us a good example. It says it, but it doesn't act it. And maybe right now we are facing a threshold, a crossroad, a moment of just grand upheaval, which is going to create still a lot of pain. We're going to see a lot of pain probably, and experience a lot of pain, and see a lot of things that are not great, but hopefully also then creates, churns a change, a shift in the culture. But the part of us that is civilized is supposed to be the part that is turning toward eroticism with consent. Are we all clear about that? Because that is a really important thing that so much of our fucking culture has forgotten. Sorry, I'm getting really mad because the patriarchy has fucked us over so much, and over and over and over again. So in a way, the civilized part of us is the part that protects, like the rose with her thorns, protects the eroticism. with the way of consent, with the way of, you have to pass through the thorns. You have to ask permission. You can only come if you're invited. But that's the civilized part of us. So we need it. So we need Aphrodite to be in her palace. We need to create and build and rebuild and restructure the kind of palace ruled by the feminine, if you will. Really, I think it's necessary right now that we don't want one to rule and the other to not. We want to weave together a world where the feminine and the masculine, I still use feminine and masculine as archetypes, because I do think that they're very important. I'm very committed to the non-binary as well. The archetypes of gender don't cancel gender fluidity. They invite us deeper into it. In all stories of ancient traditions, there are characters that transition between masculine and feminine. So we know that in our core, in who we are as a species, with who we are even as mythic consciousness beings, this fluidity of gender is in our blood. Okay, that doesn't mean that holding the structures of masculine, feminine, and non-binary as codes, as archetypes, isn't helpful. It's a both end kind of a world. So I am very committed to the transgender mission and to the non-binary vision. And because I'm so committed to non-binary vision, I think we need to be non-binary in how we look at this, and not say, well, it's just non-binary and we gotta cancel masculine, feminine archetypes. No. Let's include as more. Let's create more. Let's work with more structures that are helpful for us instead of breaking all of them and canceling them. Let's work with what we have and create more and more and more to help us work through our stuff, because Goddess knows we need help. So Aphrodite losing herself in the forest, this idea that she loses herself, I think my interpretation of it is that it's a patriarchal sort of perspective. I think that in her last, she finds more of herself. Okay, that when she goes away from the palace and she's in the forest in this mad love affair with Adonis, I don't want to say she finds her true self. That's not at all. I don't like the term true self, because it's so limiting and silly and reductionist. Again, let's not reduce. Let's make more. Let's create more channels, more vessels, more lenses that we can look and receive the world through. Okay, so Aphrodite in the forest is a way for her to discover more of who she is. Not her true self as, oh, she found her nature and now it's her true self. No, it's she found her wildness, and it adds another layer that she didn't even know she had, because until now she was a palace, culture, art kind of a beauty, and now she's in her animal nature. Not canceling the other one, but includes them, weaves them together, because the tapestry of self is woven together by many pieces. We're going to discover so many more things, hopefully, about who we are in this life. And we discover who we are in this life through relationships. So it's not that by following Adonis in the forest, she forgets who she is. She forgets who she is in a certain way. She loses herself in this lustful experience to discover and generate another part of herself. Because how we discover and create more of who we are is in this prismatic experience of being human, is through relationality, through relationship with other people, with other beings, with other species, right? Like with plants, with come on, with flowers, right? We're talking about a flower, and we're gonna get to to another layer of this flower, because now, as they're in the wild with one another, Persephone gets really upset because Adonis doesn't want to go back to be with her. And so some say that the next thing that's going to happens through the jealousy of Persephone. And others say it happens through the jealousy of Ares, who is one of Aphrodite's beloveds. He's a god of war, and he's very jealous of this mad love affair that she's having with Adonis. And what happens is that Aphrodite tells Adonis that she really, as they hunt in the forest, she really doesn't want to hunt big wild beasts. She's cool with learning how to hunt. She loves it. Because again, it's like a new layer to who she is, right? But she doesn't want to hunt the big animals. She's like, I don't have power over them. They need to. I can hunt the rabbits, but I don't want to hunt the lions. So Adonis, on the other hand, is very much pulled toward the big beasts. He's not listening to her. And one day he sees this great boar. So here's the boar again, and he pierces it with his spear, because he's like, okay, it's gonna be a really, really delicious dinner for me and my beautiful lover. But this boar is ferocious, and even though Adonis pierces him with his spear, it manages to stick his tusks, the same tusks that brought the birth of Adonis out of the tree, out of the myrrh tree. These tusks now skewer Adonis, and he falls to the ground bleeding, and he moans and he groans, and Aphrodite hears him. And her passion for him, her love for him, is making her forget about everything. She runs like a mad woman in the forest toward his voice, and on the way she pricks her heel on the thorn of a rose that she, of course, named and helped bring to this world. And up until that moment, all roses were white, but the blood of Aphrodite paints the roses red. And this red rose is now a symbol of her being the goddess of love and passion, and the gorgeousness of lust, and of the experience of eroticism, because the rose and the eros are intertwined. But when she arrives, she finds him lifeless, and her grief is more grand than anything you could imagine, because the bigger and greater the love, the greater the gift. And then let me ask you this: is it worth it? Is it worth to love madly, knowing that we're going to get hurt? Because in one way or another, let's take it away from a lust kind of relationship and even into parenthood. So my experience of motherhood is, my kids are, I love, obviously, the love is more fierce and phenomenal and intense than anything I could have imagined, even though I wanted to be a mom because I wanted to love so deeply. I love love. So I wanted to become a mom because I wanted to experience love that deep. I wanted to experience this kind of form of love. I remember even saying that to a lover one time, that I want to be. He asked me, why do you want to be a mom? And I said, because I love love so much, and I want to experience this kind of depth, this kind of form, this kind of experience. Doesn't mean that you can't have the experience of depth if you're not a parent. That's not what I mean, but it's this particular kind of love. And so this grand love is saturated in grief. It's the grief, still grieving the loss of who I was and the life I had before, even though, my goodness, I've been a mom for 13 and a half years at this point when I'm releasing this video. So long time of being a mom. 13 and a half year old girl. My goodness, right? It's big. It's a long time. And still there's pieces in me and in my life that I'm working through the grief, not to overcome it, but to work through and integrate, because we are always in the process of integrating and continuously growing through our process of integrating pieces of ourselves, integrating the grief of for who I was before and for who I haven't been able to recreate yet. Because I've created and formed a whole other being. Okay? So there's a loss of self in that. Do you see that? Like that's running in the forest. This is a total loss of self. That is also a creation of another layer of who I am. Do you see how the myth works in other ways too? And because they're growing fast, they are not the same beings that they were when I met them. When they came out of my body, they were different than who they are today. I have a 13 and a half year old and a 9-year-old. This love is huge. And the loss that I experience every day as I say goodbye to other versions of them, and say hello with great joy to the new discoveries, even with a teen. Oh my goodness, it's a whole other adventure and it's amazing. And oh my goddess, I miss that scent of a baby. That deliciousness of being snuggly, breastfeeding, having them that close to my body. The sweetness. So there's grief and love, and they're ever intertwined. This is part of the reality, the nature, and this is part of what the boar, I think, is there to remind us, because boar is earth. Our earthly existence is going to have us have to come to terms with grief and love being two sides of one life, that one cannot exist without the other, that to be embodied, to be on the earth, to be of the earth, is to have love and grief ever together. And that sometimes means, we'll take that into the body now, that we need courage in order to love. Because if we know we're going to lose and we're going to experience pain and there's going to be grief, we need courage. We need the ability to dive into the depth of our heart and go, it's worth it. I'm going to stand in my strength and in my softness at the same time, so that I can welcome the waves of love and passion and beauty and joy and the ecstasy of life. We have ecstasy for Dionysus, right? And for Aphrodite here. And at the same time, hold the knowledge that I'm going to cry. I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to lose my mind with all the different aspects of grief. I'm going to be jealous, which is one of the shadow sides to Aphrodite, because when you love really deeply, sometimes there's also jealousy, right? I love even this. I'm so many examples in my head right now, but like, yes, jealousy is there. I can even be really honest. Sometimes I feel like so envy of people who have been able to create the careers that they felt like they were born for. But I got so pulled into motherhood, so I wasn't able to necessarily form it in this way. I couldn't do both at once. So there's this envy of the life I used to have or of somebody else's life, right? Because we all have that. I'm just being really, really honest about it. It's, you don't need to take care of me. Don't worry. It's not about that. It's just I'm giving an example of a very human way. I gained and I lost at the same time. When we love somebody, and yes, we want to let them be free, but there's going to be certain boundaries, and some of the experience of jealousy are going to be there. So we want to integrate the parts that we think of as shadow. This is the boar. The boar is this integration. It's not bad or good, right? It's a shadow that needs to be integrated into the story. It breaks open the tree of life, right? The tree that gives us the birth of the greatest love affair, the greatest, most beautiful experience of passion and of love. And it is also simultaneously the very thing that kills it. It lives together. So the shadow has to be integrated. We have to learn how to live with the parts of ourselves that are uncomfortable. Okay? So there's so many other things that I could talk about right now, but let's step into the courage of really showing up to the shadow, to the love, to the grief, to the different sides of who we are, as an invitation into integration rather than escaping the discomfort, stepping toward the discomfort with courage. And there's a mudra from the yoga tradition. So now we're crossing, we have like another crossroads from the Greek myths into into the practices that are rooted in India, in the yoga tradition. So this mudra is called in Sanskrit Abhaya Hridayam, which means abhaya means fearless or courageous or no fear, or as I've learned from my philosophy teacher Douglas Brooks, never without fear. The a prefix before, it's no, but it's also never without, never not. So it's, there's never no fear. Here's the paradox again, right? The paradox of the rose and the thorn, of the life force fierceness of the boar. The paradox is that it's no fear, but never without fear. And Hridayam in Sanskrit means heart. And this mudra, we're going to hold the mudra and we're going to breathe, and then we're going to chant a very simple mantra, a bija mantra, a seed mantra. So the mudra is like this. We start in Anjali mudra, and then we cross the right wrist in front of the left. I'm not mirroring you in case that's confusing. So from Anjali, from the heart's deepest offering, we cross the right in front. So you see the fingers are with their backs to each other. And we're going to hook the index fingers, and we're going to hook the middle fingers. So index fingers hook, middle fingers hook. We're going to hook the pinky fingers. We're going to skip the ring and then bring the ring tip to touch the thumb. That's Abhaya Hridayam mudra. Do you need to do it again? Let's do it again, okay? Release it. If you don't have to release it if you got it. But if you didn't get it, hands in Anjali. Cross the right wrist in front of the left. Fingers up with our backs to each other. We hook the index. We hook the middle. We skip the ring. We hook the pinky. And now we bring the ring and the thumbs to touch. And you can rest the mudra in front of your heart. And allow your eyes to soften. You don't have to close them right away. And bring attention to the breath and invite the breath to show you, to guide you into where these myths live in you, in your body. So we breathe in and we receive all of our parts, our bore, our jealousy, our gorgeousness, our, I hate the word sins, but like from the beginning of the second story, the things that we would never that are not okay, the things that we can't integrate in the way of, oh, I'm going to make this okay. The red lines. The red lines that we draw, that are the thorns, that are protective of us. We're not going to say yes to everything. But we say yes first to the reality, to the truth, to the parts that are here. We say yes to the paradox, and we receive it with our inhalation. And when we exhale, we allow ourselves to let this integrative process reconnect us with the world around us, reintegrates us into our environment, into our relationship with trees, with plants, as our exhalation nourishes the plant world. And as our inhalation is how we receive the world, the experience, the nourishment. Remembering that the nourishment always comes with toxicity, so that when the exhalation comes, we can transform it. The release of it isn't necessarily a getting rid of, but the release of it is our ability to alchemize. And if you haven't already, bring a tone to the back of the throat. So you're starting to breathe Ujjayi Pranayama. So your breath makes this resonant sound by the boundaries that you create around your breath, that teach you to create clear, sacred boundaries in your life. Red lines that you will not cross and will not justify for others to cross and will not be okay with. And boundaries that are clear in order to protect you, in order to protect the most precious, vulnerable, delicate parts of you and of others that you love. And it takes courage. We're holding this mudra. It takes courage to set boundaries. Keep breathing, Ujjayi breath. It takes courage to say no, to draw the line. To not draw such a harsh line, but just say, you know what, I can't do this today. Even though you know you're going to disappoint a person. Because that's part of love. We get disappointed and we disappoint. We're going to breathe now to just a few rounds of samavriti, and evenness of waves. We're going to count for 4 as we breathe in. Hold the breath for 4 and exhale for 4. And then hold it out for 4. So it's almost like we get the 4 months with Aphrodite, the 4 months with Persephone, the 4 months of joys, and then 4 more months. Like, who wouldn't want 4 more months in the year, right? A little extra. Because there's always more. Because there's always this expansive way of continuing to make the world, which is what one of the roles of Aphrodite is, the goddess of abundance. Exhale slowly out all the way. And let's breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold it out, 2, 3, 4, inhale, hold, exhale, hold, inhale, hold, exhale, hold. One more round. And now breathe in and out through the nose, still through the tone in the back of your throat for a few rounds without counting, just allowing it to be a bit more of a natural flow. Still with the boundaries of Ujjayi Pranayama, that tone in the back of the throat. And we're going to invite the Bija mantra, the seed mantra, Hrim, H-R-I-M, Hrim. And Hrim is the Bija mantra of the earth. Everything that grows on the earth, every experience that we have in as earthly beings, the cyclicality of life, and all the gods and goddesses from the Hindu tradition that are related to earthiness, but maybe also in this ever-inclusive capacity of Earth's energy. It's also including this story in the generosity of the earth in this season of Taurus. When I'm releasing this video, it's this invitation into Earth's generosity of inclusion and extension of the cyclicality and the way that we are woven together with many cultures, many forms, many stories. How within this story there's a convergence of different stories of seasonality and cyclicality in the Greek mythology. And we bring into this practice, into this space, practices that come from the Indian tradition. And we weave them together consciously, not in a cultural appropriation, kind of a disrespectful way, but with respect, like the respect that you show up to a rose with because of its thorns, slowing down and letting convergence weave us together deeply. So we're going to breathe in, deep inhalation, and chant Hrim as we exhale. Deep breath in. Deep inhale. Even if our voice cracks like a tree, may it give birth to a beautiful baby. And I can feel my voice going into smallness, into not its full power. Don't we all do that sometimes? So deeper into our power by discovering another layer, more of who we are, creating, churning the ability to continue to become, to unfold like a flower, like a rose. Deep breath in. Sometimes we're concerned, I'll speak for myself, that our power isn't beautiful. Isn't that exactly the story? But then Aphrodite doesn't feel scared of it. She's in her wildness. She's in her power. And she doesn't give a fuck about how she looks. Doesn't give a fuck about what her voice sounds like. So wherever this meets you in your life, one more harim, deep breath in. Sit with us for a moment. When you're ready, you can let the mudra release. Wiggle your fingers around a little bit so that if your fingers feel stuck and rigid, you bring flow back into your hands, into your fingers, and you can rest your hands on your thighs or your knees for another moment or two to sit with yourself. And to feel where this touches you. And you can sit here for as long as it feels good for you. I just want to thank you so much for going on this journey with me. I hope this was meaningful, valuable, and brought some thought-provoking, evocative concepts for you to play with, to take into your life, to journal about, to think about. You can have another listen more than once. There were a lot of details. You can return to this. I hope you can bring it into your life if it's the season of spring when you're watching it, if it's the peak of spring, or if it's at a completely different time. But whenever you need this, it is here for you. Like and subscribe, please. So if this was in some way valuable for you, put a like on it. It helps others find this video. If this was valuable for you, there's going to be more. There's more in the archive. You can find it, but subscribe so that you can get the videos when they come out. Subscribe to my Substack for Muse Medicine that drops every Monday, and I will leave a link for you in the description of the video for an essay about rose, this great flower, if you want to kind of go a little bit into it, and for a ritual guide that I created, which will also drop you in my mailing list and give you moon moments once a week, once a week. So I'm so grateful to be with you, and I can't wait to see you again. Thank you.